White Death Falls. The snow was falling hard. Thick white flakes covered everything. The sky was gray and the wind howled like a hungry animal. Jackson walked slowly through the deep snow, carrying a small boy on his back. The boy, Leo, was only 10 years old. His face was pale and his lips were turning blue. Jackson's boots sank into the soft snow with every step. His body was shaking from cold and exhaustion. He could barely see in front of him. His breath came out as fog. His fingers, inside torn. Gloves had lost all feeling. They had crashed 2 days ago. A small exploration ship heading to a new planet for study had gone down in a sudden storm. Most of the team died in the crash. Jackson had survived along with little Leo. But now they were alone. No food, no shelter, no hope. He looked back. The crash site was far behind them. He couldn't return. There was fire and broken metal everywhere, and there were sounds, strange animal calls from the forest beyond the snowfields. Jackson didn't want to find out what made those sounds. "Hold on, Leo," he whispered. His voice cracked. The boy didn't reply. His head rested weakly on Jackson's shoulder. Jackson stumbled and fell forward, both of them hitting the snow. He stayed down for a moment. His body wanted to sleep. Just sleep. It would be warm. Peaceful. But no, he forced himself up. "Come on. Just a little more." He picked up Leo again, though his arms screamed in pain. The storm was growing stronger. Snow blew into his eyes. He walked toward the trees, hoping to find something. Anything. A cave. A rock. Even a dead tree for fire. He reached the edge of the forest. The trees were tall and black, like burned bones sticking out of the white ground. Jackson looked around. Then he saw it. A figure. Something moved between the trees. Tall, thin, but not human. It was wrapped in thick furs, and glowing blue eyes shined through the snow. Jackson froze. "Who's there?" he shouted weakly. The figure stepped forward. It was a woman. Alien. Her skin was a soft silver, her hair long and white like the snow. She had 4 eyes, 2 large and 2 small. Her face was calm but strong. In her hands, she held a round object glowing with orange fire. Jackson's heart pounded. He didn't know if she was friend or enemy. The alien woman walked slowly toward him. She crouched beside Leo and touched his forehead. Then, without saying a word, she placed the fire orb near the boy. Warmth spread quickly. Steam rose from Leo's clothes as the ice melted. Jackson stepped back, unsure. What do you want?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a small package from her fur cloak. She opened it and offered dried meat and fruit. Real food. Jackson couldn't believe it. He took it with shaking hands and gave some to Leo, who slowly opened his eyes. You saved him," Jackson said. Still no words from the alien woman. She stood up and turned around, walking back toward the trees. After a few steps, she turned her head and motioned with her hand. "Follow me." Jackson looked at Leo. The boy's face had color again. He was breathing better. Jackson made a choice. He lifted the boy again and followed the alien woman into the forest. They walked for what felt like hours. But the deeper they went, the quieter the wind became. The snow stopped falling. Strange glowing plants lit the path ahead. The woman walked with purpose, never looking back. Jackson didn't speak. He didn't have the strength or the words. Finally, she stopped near a large rock. She placed her hand on it, and part of the ground moved. A hidden entrance opened. Warm air rushed out. Jackson stepped inside. It was a cave, not natural, built by someone long ago. Inside were soft lights, warm beds made of moss and fur, and strange machines giving off gentle heat. The alien woman placed more glowing stones near Leo and checked his temperature. Jackson sat down beside the boy, still staring at the alien. Who was she? Why did she help them? Why was she alone? Before he could ask, she placed a single finger to her lips. Rest, she said softly, her voice strange but clear. Cold still watching. Then she disappeared into the shadows of the cave. Jackson couldn't sleep, though his body begged for it. The cave was warm, but his mind was full of questions. Who was this alien woman? Why had she saved them? And where were the others, her people, her tribe? He glanced at Leo, now resting on a bed of moss and fur, his breathing calm and steady. For the first time in 2 days, the boy looked safe. Jackson leaned his back against the stone wall, watching the glowing rocks pulse gently in the corners of the shelter. The light wasn't harsh, it felt alive like the warmth of a gentle fire. And the silence wasn't empty. It felt protective, like the cave itself was holding its breath to keep them hidden from something outside. Then he heard soft footsteps. The alien woman returned, carrying a curved pot that steamed at the top. She placed it near the heat stone and carefully poured something into 2 round bone-like cups. Jackson watched her closely. Her movements were calm, practiced, almost graceful. Her 4 eyes blinked slowly, and her silver skin shimmered faintly in the warm light. She offered him one of the cups. He hesitated, then accepted it with a nod. The drink inside smelled earthy with a hint of something sweet. He sipped it. Warmth spread through his chest like a small fire being lit in his ribs. It tasted like roots and berries. Strange, but not bad. You helped us, Jackson said quietly. Why? The woman sat across from him, placing her hands over the firestone as if praying. Cold kills fast, she said slowly, her voice heavy with an accent. No one survives alone. Her words were broken, but clear enough. Jackson studied her carefully. Her clothes were made from thick furs and old armor parts patched together. Her boots looked handmade, and around her neck she wore a small necklace with 3 black stones. Each stone had a symbol scratched onto it. One looked like fire. One looked like water. And the third, he couldn't tell. Are you from a village nearby? He asked, looking toward the cave's entrance. No more village, she said flatly without emotion. Gone. Jackson frowned. Gone where? The woman didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a long piece of bark from a pouch at her side and began drawing in the dirt with a sharp stone. She made a rough map, a mountain, a forest, a frozen river, then a large circle with many small marks inside. My people, she said. We're here, now, empty. He understood. Her tribe was gone. Dead? Taken? Or something worse? He didn't ask. The pain in her eyes told him not to. Suddenly, the wind outside howled louder. The cave lights dimmed. The firestone flickered. Jackson stood quickly, his heart racing. The woman also stood and reached for something from the wall. A long spear, with 2 glowing lines down the shaft. She walked silently to the entrance and placed her hand against the rock. A screen appeared, showing the forest outside. Jackson saw it too. A shape in the snow. Something crawling. Large. Low to the ground. Not human, what is that? He whispered. She looked back at him, her voice calm but cold. Hunter. Jackson pulled Leo closer, wrapping the furs tighter around him. The woman grabbed another glowing stone and crushed it in her hand. Fire burst from her palm, controlled, quiet, but fierce. She placed it in a small torch holder near the entrance. The heat pushed back against the cold creeping inside. Whatever was outside paused. Then it vanished. They smell heat, she said. They hate fire, but they wait, always wait. Jackson swallowed hard. You've done this before. You know how to survive here. She nodded once. Many cycles. Alone. He couldn't believe it. How long had she lived here by herself? How had she not gone mad? She knelt beside Leo again and touched his wrist. He is weak. Needs time. Jackson sat beside her. And what about you? Why do you help us? What if we're dangerous? The woman gave a tired smile, the first one he'd seen. Already watched. Already chose. You carry child. You fight storm. You do not eat, child. That is good. Jackson blinked, surprised. He gave a short laugh. Well, thanks for noticing. She looked at him seriously. Others, not always same. He understood. She'd seen bad people before, maybe even humans. She had chosen to help only because she saw something good in them, or maybe because she remembered what it was like to need help and find none. She rose and walked deeper into the cave. Jackson followed. She showed him a large rock plate she lifted with effort. Underneath were more supplies, food, herbs, even tools. This was more than a shelter, this was her home. And she was sharing it. She picked up a small fire orb and held it out to him. You take, she said, for child, for warmth. My fire, now your fire. Jackson looked down at the glowing stone. He felt something shift inside him. Gratitude. Respect. A strange bond forming between two survivors from different worlds. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, the fire stayed strong. The snow outside never stopped. It fell like time itself. Slow. Quiet. Cold. Deep underground, Jackson woke up beside Leo, who was breathing better now thanks to the warmth and food the alien woman had given them. The fire orb still glowed, near the boy, keeping the chill away. Jackson stretched, his muscles aching but alive. For a moment he forgot they were on a deadly planet. For a moment, this place felt like a home. The alien woman moved like a shadow through the cave. She didn't speak much, but her actions said enough. She brought more fire orbs from deeper tunnels. She mixed herbs and hot water for Leo. She crushed red berries into paste and placed it gently on the boy's bruises. Jackson watched her, still not sure if she was just kind or hiding something deeper. Later that day, she motioned Jackson to follow her. They walked through a narrow tunnel lit by glowing roots that pulsed with green light. The air smelled sweet, like moss and warm stone. At the end of the tunnel, she stopped in front of a heavy metal door, almost hidden behind frozen vines. She pressed her hand on the panel. It didn't open. She tried again. Nothing. Old place, she muttered. Dead tech. Sometimes works. She pulled a stone from her pouch and pressed it into the wall. This time the door hissed and slid halfway open. Cold air spilled out like a warning. Jackson followed her inside. It was huge. A buried chamber, hidden under the ice. A forgotten place. The walls were made of crystal and stone. Old machines lined the sides, covered in frost. In the center was a broken fire pillar, long dead. But on the walls, drawings, thousands of them, carved with care. Some were of fire, some of beasts, some of people standing in circles, arms raised toward the stars. This was your people's home? Jackson asked, stepping slowly across the ice-covered floor. The woman nodded. Long ago, before the white storms came, before betrayal. Jackson looked at her. Betrayal? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she walked to one of the walls and touched a symbol. A glowing face with 4 eyes and a mouth open in song. This was me, she whispered. Fire bearer, voice of warmth. I gave heat to tribe. I kept them alive. He could hear the pain in her voice even though her face remained still. What happened? She finally looked at him, her voice low. They blamed me, said fire brought beasts, said I was cursed. They left me here, locked me in. Alone. Jackson's chest tightened. This cave wasn't just a shelter, it was a prison once. How did you get out? He asked. I waited, she said simply. I learned. I burned my way free. I made my own life. Alone. Safer. Jackson stepped closer to the wall. He saw newer marks, scratchy, desperate lines below the older carvings. These were hers, drawings of a child, of a small fire, of hands reaching out, then pulling away. Her story, hidden in ice. You were a mother, Jackson said quietly. Her eyes closed, just for a moment. I was. That single sentence held more pain than any scream. Jackson looked away, giving her a moment. Then he turned to one of the old machines. It hummed weakly when he touched it. "What is all this?" he asked. "This tech, it's still alive?" She walked over and touched the same panel. Symbols lit up. "Half sleep, power in stone below. If I wake it, fire may return, but noise may bring hunters." Jackson frowned. "So more heat means more danger." "Yes. Always balance." He looked around the old chamber, at the walls full of memory and loss. He realized something. This place wasn't just forgotten, it was avoided, maybe even cursed by her people. And yet she stayed here. Protected it. Protected him and Leo. Why? "You could have let us die," he said. "But you didn't." She looked at him carefully. "You remind me of someone. You carry small life, you fight for it, you are not like others." Jackson lowered his head. "Maybe we're both trying to survive something we lost." They stood in silence for a while. The machine behind them buzzed again, then quieted. The fire pillar in the middle gave off a faint glow as if it remembered its old warmth. "We can fix this place," Jackson said suddenly. "Use what's left. Make it a real home." She gave him a strange look. Not angry, not happy, just curious. "Home?" she repeated. "Yes," he said. "Not just for me and Leo. For you too." She looked at the carvings again. Her hand brushed across one, the face of a child. "I don't know if I can be part of people again." "You already are," Jackson said gently. "You saved us. That's how people begin." For a long time she didn't speak. Then she picked up a stone tool and handed it to him. "Then help me clean. If beasts come, we need walls strong." And just like that, the ice shelter stopped feeling like a prison. It became something new, a place where warmth and hope might return. Days passed slowly, but something began to change in the hidden shelter. The firestones burned brighter and Leo's strength returned little by little. Jackson and the alien woman, whom he now called Flara after the fire she carried, worked together to clear the ice chamber. They stacked stones, cleaned old machines, and sealed broken cracks with moss and heat paste she made from roots. Flara never said much, but Jackson had started to understand her without words. Her silence spoke of years of pain, and her hands, always working, always helping, spoke of quiet strength. Still, Jackson noticed something strange. Flara never lit a full fire. She used only small orbs, never enough to bring full warmth. She always listened, always watched the cave entrance, as if waiting for something terrible to return. One evening, while Leo slept curled in a nest of furs, Jackson asked her directly, "What are you afraid of?" Flara didn't answer right away. She sat by a wall where ancient symbols were carved, faded now but still clear in the fire glow. She placed her hand on one, a symbol of a tall creature with long limbs and sharp claws. "The cold is not the only killer," she said slowly. "There are things that wait, hate fire, hunt warmth." She stood and picked up a small bone knife. With it, she scraped some frost from the wall, revealing a carving Jackson hadn't noticed before. It showed a large circle with eyes all around it, watching, always watching, and small fires beneath it. "My people called them the eyes in the storm," she said. "Long ago, fire protected us. But the more we burned, the more they came." Jackson frowned. "So the fire doesn't just keep them away, it also draws them?" Flara nodded. "Balance must be kept. Fire too big, and they wake. Fire too small, and cold kills." She turned to him. "Your kind makes big fires, big lights, always seen." He understood now. That's why she never used full flame. She was afraid of attracting the watchers in the snow. That night, Jackson couldn't sleep. His dreams were full of white shapes moving through endless snow. He woke in a sweat. The fire orb near Leo flickered weakly. He added a second one, but then remembered Flara's warning and quickly pulled it back. Too much heat was just as dangerous. The next day, Jackson explored deeper into the frozen tunnels while Flara gathered herbs outside. The deeper he went, the colder it became. The walls were covered in frost, so thick it looked like glass. At the end of a narrow hallway, he found a sealed door. Different from the others. This one was made of dark metal with strange marks glowing faintly across the surface. Jackson brushed away some snow and saw symbols he couldn't read, but one looked familiar. The circle with watching eyes. He pressed his hand to the door. It didn't open. But something inside moved, a soft scraping sound. He stepped back, suddenly unsure. That night he told Flara what he'd found. Her face changed, not fear, something worse, recognition. "You opened the warning door," she said. "I didn't open it, just touched it." Flara sat down hard, staring into the fire. "That door is not for us. It was built to hold back the storm spirits. My ancestors said they trapped one inside." Jackson blinked. "A spirit? Like a creature?" "Yes," she said. "A cold one. A watcher. One who does not sleep, only waits." He wanted to laugh, to say it was just a myth. But this planet had already proven it was full of terrible, real things. He remembered the crawling shape he'd seen through the cave screen days ago, the hunter, the way it stopped near the fire, and how it vanished into the snow without a sound. "Why would your people trap it instead of killing it?" he asked. "We cannot kill what is made of cold itself," she said, "but we can seal it with heat. That door is fire-locked. Your touch, your warmth might have weakened it." Guilt twisted in his gut. "I didn't know." She looked at him. "Now you do." The next morning the cave felt colder. Jackson checked the firestones, but they glowed less than before. The heat was fading. Leo coughed in his sleep. Flara didn't say anything, but she placed more stones around him than usual. Later, they heard the sound. Not wind, not snow. A thump, then another, heavy, slow, like something testing the stone above them. Jackson and Flara both stood still. She grabbed her spear. He held Leo close. Thump, then silence. But the cold deepened, and Jackson felt it in his bones. Something had heard them, and now it was coming. The cave was quiet, but it was not peaceful. The sound, the heavy, slow thump, had stopped, but its memory clung to the walls like frost. Jackson didn't speak. Flara didn't blink. Even the fire orbs dimmed, as if the heat itself had grown. Afraid. Jackson held Leo close, feeling the boy's warmth, his soft breath, his life. He didn't want to move, but he knew something had changed. The cold outside was no longer just nature, it had purpose. It was watching, waiting. Flara stood at the entrance tunnel with her spear in hand. She pressed her fingers to the wall and activated the viewing screen. It flickered, but it worked. Outside, the snow swirled like always. Trees stood tall, unmoving. But between the shadows, movement. Something large and pale slithered just beyond the tree line, too quick for clear sight. Not walking, gliding, like ice given form. "They're here," Flara whispered. "The cold hunters." Jackson joined her, his voice low. "What do they want?" "They don't eat," she replied. "They don't breathe. They take warmth, kill light. They are death in shape." She looked at him. "They heard you open the door. Now they test our walls." Jackson felt his mouth go dry. "Can we stop them?" She didn't answer right away. Then without warning, she turned and moved quickly into the deeper tunnels. Jackson followed, confused and worried. She reached the old fire pillar in the center of the ice chamber and opened a hidden panel beneath it. Inside were parts, wires, crystal rods, ancient energy cells. She began pulling them out one by one, checking them with fast hands. "You're fixing the fire pillar?" he asked. Flara nodded. "Yes. Full flame may push them back for a while. But I thought too. Much heat. We'll call more," she finished. "Yes, but without heat we die now. Better to burn bright than freeze slowly." Jackson looked at Leo, sleeping under layers of fur, unaware of what waited beyond the snow. What do you need me to do? Flora didn't hesitate. She handed him a cracked rod with red lines glowing inside. This must go into the old heart chamber. Below us. Fire root still lives there. You place it, I light it. He didn't argue. There was no time for fear. The chamber was below the cave, through a narrow tunnel and down an icy ladder. The air grew colder with every step, and Jackson's breath turned thick like smoke. At the bottom, he found the chamber. The walls shimmered with old light. In the center, a broken machine pulsed slowly. He found the port jammed in the crystal rod and twisted until it locked. The pillar hummed once, then went quiet. Nothing happened. He tapped it. Still nothing. Then a sound behind him. Not a footstep. Not wind. A crack. He turned. In the doorway stood something that did not belong in the world of the living. It was tall. Twice. His height and thin like a shadow stretched across ice. Its body was smooth and white like glass. No face. Only a deep black hole where a face should be, and inside that hole, nothing. No eyes. Just cold. Jackson backed away. His breath caught in his throat. The creature moved forward, not fast, not slow. It didn't touch the ground. The frost beneath it cracked and curled as if trying to escape. Jackson looked up, saw the ceiling beginning to form frost spikes. The warmth in the room was being eaten. He had seconds. He grabbed a fire orb from his belt. Flora had given him one just in case, and smashed it on the ground. The room exploded in orange light. The creature stopped. It didn't scream, didn't flinch. It simply froze, like a statue, made of snow. But Jackson could feel the air grow tense, like the creature was deciding what to do next. Then it vanished. Not ran, not turned, just gone. The fire orb still burned, but the ice was already creeping back. Jackson didn't wait. He climbed the ladder as fast as he could, hands shaking, heart pounding. He burst into the upper chamber, breathless. It was here, he shouted. One of them got inside. Flora didn't look surprised. She pointed to the fire pillar. It was glowing. It's working, she said. But they know now. We woke them. Leo stirred. His eyes opened, full of confusion and fear. Is it morning? Jackson smiled weakly and kissed his forehead. It will be. We're making sure of it. Flora stared at the viewing screen again. More shadows now, more movement. The hunters were circling, not rushing in but tightening their grip. Jackson stood beside her. What happens next? She handed him a second spear, one with a burning tip. Now, we burn. The shelter was no longer silent. The fire pillar in the heart of the cave pulsed with life, sending waves of heat through the walls. The soft glow warmed the air, but it also sent a message into the storm. Fire was here, and so was life. The cold hunters knew it. Jackson stood, near the entrance tunnel, holding the burning spear Flora had given him. His grip was tight, his breath steady, though fear crawled under his skin. He wasn't a soldier anymore, just a man trying to protect a boy and a woman who had once been abandoned by her own people. Flora stood beside him, calm and focused. Her 4 eyes watched the screen, tracking every flicker of movement outside. The creatures had not attacked yet. They circled the area like wolves made of ice and shadow. Jackson glanced back at Leo, who was now awake, sitting up weakly, watching with wide, scared eyes. It's okay, Jackson said. We've got fire. They can't touch us if we stand together. But Flora didn't look convinced. She said nothing, only knelt beside the fire pillar, checking the energy lines, adjusting the flow. Jackson noticed her hand trembled slightly. You're scared, he said quietly. Aren't you? Flora gave a soft sigh, almost like a breath she had been holding for years. I have fought storms, she whispered. I have lived alone many cycles. But this is the first time I fear losing someone again. Jackson looked at her, realizing she meant Leo. She had grown attached to the boy, maybe because of who he was. Or maybe because of who she had once lost. Either way, he saw it clearly now. She didn't just want to protect the fire. She wanted to protect what it represented: hope, connection, and the warmth she had long forgotten. As the wind outside howled louder, Flora stood. "I must leave," she said suddenly. Jackson turned sharply. "What? Where?" "There is a beacon buried in the old shrine," she said. "If I can light it with fire, it may send signal to the sky. Maybe someone hears. Maybe your people. Come." Jackson shook his head. "No, we stay together. We protect Leo. We fight here." Flora looked at him with sadness. "If help does not come, we die here. One must try. I know the path." Jackson stepped in front of her. "Then I'll go." She hesitated. "You do not know the way." "Then show me," he said. "You stay with Leo. He needs you more than me. I've seen what's out there. I can move fast. I'll light your beacon." Flora lowered her eyes. "It is not just a beacon. It is part of the old trial. Only a fire bearer can pass the gate." Jackson smiled a little. "You gave me your fire. Maybe that makes me one of you now." She looked at him for a long moment, then placed her palm over his chest. "Your heart, it burns strong. Maybe that is enough." They moved quickly. Flora handed him a smaller fire orb and a map scratched into bark. She explained the path in short, clear words. "Follow the red moss. When you see the broken fang tree, turn east. The gate will glow with blue light. Touch the flame to the symbol, then run. Do not wait." Jackson nodded. He kissed Leo on the head. "I'll be back, buddy. Keep the fire warm for me." The boy nodded, eyes full of trust. Then Jackson left the cave, stepping into the snowstorm. The cold hit him like a wall, but the fire orb in his hand pushed it back. The hunters sensed him instantly. He could feel it. Shadows moved between trees. Ice cracked beneath his boots. But he kept going. He followed the moss. He passed the fang-shaped tree. Finally he saw it. A stone gate half buried in snow, marked with glowing blue lines. The cold here was deeper, sharper, like the breath of a waiting predator. Jackson stepped forward and touched the fire orb to the symbol. The ground shook, light shot into the sky. And then they came. 3 cold hunters emerged from the woods, gliding toward him like ghosts. Jackson turned and ran. He didn't look back. The fire orb pulsed in his grip. Behind him, the beacon lit the clouds above with a red flame. Far away, in orbit, a signal beacon on the crash ship blinked awake. Back in the cave, Flora watched. The sky changed color. She smiled. "He did it," she whispered. Leo grabbed her hand. The warmth between them was real. The sky burned red. Flora stood at the cave entrance, her 4 eyes fixed on the glowing streak climbing into the clouds. It wasn't lightning. It wasn't fire from the earth. It was the signal. Jackson had done it. Against the storm. Against the hunters, against the death waiting in the snow. He had carried the flame and lit the ancient beacon. The fire reached into the sky, calling out to whoever was listening. Maybe humans, maybe no one. But the message was clear. We are alive. Come find us. Behind her, Leo sat wrapped in warm fur, the glow of the fire pillar making his cheeks pink again. He looked stronger now, more awake. He gripped the small fire orb Flora had given him, holding it like a gift. "Will he come back?" he asked, softly. Flora didn't answer right away. Her gaze stayed on the storm. It raged louder now. The cold hunters had felt the beacon's fire. They were angry. She could sense it. The trees outside bent as if pushed by unseen claws. The wind howled with voices not human. Still, she placed her hand on Leo's head and nodded. "Yes," she said with the fire of belief. "He carries the fire now. He will not fall easily." Hours passed. The storm screamed around the shelter. Ice cracked above. Once the tunnel entrance trembled as if something large had slammed against it. Flora lit more orbs, careful not to make the heat too strong. Balance, always balance. The hunters didn't break through. but they were close. Then, silence. No wind, no sound, just stillness. That was worse than noise. She stood up fast, spear in hand, ready to protect the boy. And then through the thick fog a shape appeared. Slow steps, shoulders bent, breath steaming in the air. Jackson. He was alive, though barely. His face was scratched, his coat torn, but he carried the empty fire orb in one hand and the broken tip of a hunter's claw in the other. Flora ran to him without thinking. She grabbed his arm and helped him inside. Leo jumped up and hugged him tight. "I knew you'd come back," he said. Jackson fell to his knees, smiling weakly. "I almost didn't," he said. "But I kept thinking. I promised the kid I'd keep the fire warm." Flora checked his wounds silently. Nothing deadly, but he needed rest. She gave him hot root, drink, and placed a moss pack on his shoulder. Then she sat beside him. "You did well, human," she said. "The signal was strong. Sky fire moved. I believe your people saw." Jackson nodded. "I saw the wrecked satellite spark before the storm hit again. If the system still works, someone out there got our call." They both looked at Leo, now playing with two glowing stones, like they were toys. In the boy's eyes, there was hope. Again. And for the first time, Flora allowed herself to feel it too. Later that night, while the firestones flickered and the cold stayed outside, Jackson spoke softly. "When we leave, if help comes, what about you?" Flora tilted her head. "What about me? You saved us. This place, it's your home. But you don't have to stay here anymore. Come with us." She looked away. "I am not human. Your people may not want me." Jackson leaned forward. "I didn't want help either. I thought I had to survive alone. But you showed me something different. You protected a stranger. You cared for my child like he was yours. That's more human than most people I know." Flora's voice was quiet. "And if I say yes?" Jackson smiled. "Then we leave this frozen graveyard together. And maybe build something new." Flora didn't reply. Instead, she stood up, walked to the wall, and removed a small box hidden behind a carved stone. Inside was her old firebearer symbol, a flat medallion with the mark of flame and life. She placed it in Jackson's hand. "We carry fire," she said, "wherever we go. Together." He nodded, gripping it tightly. Together. 3 days later, the sky cracked open. A rescue ship broke through the clouds, guided by the ancient beacon's pulse. It landed near the edge of the forest, lights flashing like morning suns. Jackson carried Leo through the snow while Flora walked beside them, her spear slung across her back, her fur cloak wrapped around her like armor. The humans who came out of the ship stared. They whispered. Some reached for their weapons when they saw her. But Jackson raised his hand. "She saved us," he said. "If it weren't for her, we'd be dead." A long silence. Then one of the officers nodded. "She comes with us." The ramp lowered. Flora looked back once. At the cave, at the woods, at the world that once betrayed her. Then she stepped aboard. Inside the ship, Jackson held Leo close. Flora sat beside them, quiet but no longer alone. And the fire? The fire still burned, not in the orbs, not in the pillar, but in them.